Before I start this last installment, I'd just like to apologize for some audio issues. There was a bit of static that came in from somewhere, and I just didn't have time to edit it out. Also, there's some canine interference, and I addressed that during the actual tutorial. So without any further ado, here we go with the end. Welcome back. This is our final installment. The painting is pretty much done now. I've only really done one major thing since the last time, and that was I added the hair. And I would have added that to the tutorial, but I really needed to get this finished on time. So you can see what I did to do the hair. Basically, I just added masses of color, and I'll just do a little bit of hair here on the outside just to show you what I mean. Let's get our brush tool. So I'm just going to pick up this gray here, and I'll add some color with that. And I'll pick up this dark gray, and I'll add some color there. And I'll pick up some white, and I'll add some color there. And what I did is I marked out the major darks and lights. And then I just used my smudge tool. I set it to a very small pixel. Set it to a very high strength, because what I'm basically going to be doing is I'm going to be pulling out long strands of hair. So about 95%. And you can just work that. And you can start off with a larger brush if you want to work out the major masses. And then you can go in with a smaller brush and work them into this flyaway hair that the Astas seem to have. So anyway, that's that. Let me go back to the saved version. The only other real thing that was done to this before the client approved it was I had mentioned way early in the very first tutorial that I tend to work highly saturated. Well, I still felt that this color was a bit too saturated, so the very last thing I did was I went to pretty much just the robe and the tunic and maybe the boots, and I would select the robe layer and go to adjustments. And first of all, I'm going to go to curves, and I'm going to lighten it up a bit. There we go. And I want to keep those shadows though, so I'm going to what I'm doing here is this is what the value is. This is what I want the value to be. So I'm keeping the darks pretty much what they were originally, but I'm lightening the lighter parts. And if you hear some jingling in the background, we've got a new puppy, and he pretty much has to be monitored until he's housebroken, so he's in the same room with me. So you'll hear some distracting noises in the background. So I changed the lightness on there, and the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Images, Adjustments again, and I'm going to go to Hue and Saturation. And that is right there. And from this, I can do some pretty amazing things. First of all, I could change that purple to an entirely different color. I could change it to green, if I like. And it will do its very best to keep all of the color relationships the same. It's not always perfect, and it's not the best way to do this sort of thing. But, for instance, I could go with a kind of a golden look. But on this particular one, I wanted to keep those original colors. I just wanted to desaturate that purple a good deal. So I pulled the purple saturation down quite a bit, making it a much more realistic color, not making it vibrant. And then I did the same thing for the tunic. First of all, I go to Adjustments, Curves, keep my shadows, and I'm going to lighten my highlights. Looks really, really blown out now. And then I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments again, and go to Hue, Saturation, and again pull the saturation down, turning that yellow into more of a khaki color. And here's a disadvantage you can see. This highlight over here, let me zoom in on it, wasn't as noticeable before I did the adjustment, but it is now. So I'm going to take my smudge tool, the big soft brush, and I'm just going to pull the strength back down to about 50, and I'm going to work that in to where it's not quite so noticeable. So that's it. That's pretty much it. The only other thing I did was to add some shadow down here under the feet, and I did that on a separate layer. You never know when you might need to do something else with the character, if they need to be standing on a shiny surface or a not shiny surface, or if you eventually want to put in a background. So I added a shadow, and I added my signature right there. And that's pretty much it. It's concluded. All I have to do now is send off some high-resolution images to the customer, and maybe a couple of low-resolution that would be appropriate for posting on a website. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll try and do this again sometime, some other time. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll try and do this some other time.